You can support this show at patreon.com/ASAPodcasting. Welcome to a Skyrim Addict podcast, where I will discuss my adventures and misadventures through Skyrim. Join me. Add your stories, add your tales. Let's get into this thing. And welcome back. Skyrim Addict podcast, the latest one, whatever number it is, 140-something. I'm Michael, a little solo tonight. So first, thank you to the patrons for helping out, keeping our feeds going. That's awesome. We had if you missed it, the interview with Jonah Loeb is on the Fallout feed, the latest episode of that, or you can look. It may not be the latest when you hear this. Of course, he did some art design and stuff on Oblivion, Skyrim, a bunch of the Fallouts, Fallout 4. So pretty cool interview if you want to check that out. There was a little snippet of it earlier in the week on the feed here. So go over there and check the whole thing out. So up first, Oblivion Roundtable announcement. We'll be doing the Shivering Isles portion of the Roundtable. Colin, Juan, and myself are going to be continuing the same characters we have and going through all of the Shivering Isles quest lines. So that we are going to be starting on March 18th at 3 p.m. Eastern. I believe that's daylight time at that point. So I will have the document with links to every single quest posted on ASAPodcasting.com on the Skyrim Addict part of that. It's not there right at the second, but I will get that posted up there this week. So it'll have the breakdown of the quest, the episode number for the quest. You'll be able to click on each quest, and it'll take you right to the UESP of the breakdown for that quest if you would like to know it. So episode 1 is going to be for the main quest line of Shivering Isles, Doran Nibbin Bay, through the Fringe of Madness, a Better Mousetrap, and Baiting the Trap. And then we have 2 settlement quests, which is Everything in Its Place and Ghosts of Vitharn. Then we're going to move on. Episode 2, which will be in April sometime, hopefully. April's a pretty busy month, so I'm hoping that works out. Episode 2 in April will be Understanding Madness, Addiction, and Lady of Paranoia. Those are the main quest quests. The Bliss quests, which is a town. The Antipodean Hammer, Falling Awake. So we'll be doing 2 of those. 2 more. Work is Never Done. And the Fork of Horripilation. So those 4 quests also, Bliss quests. I believe one of those is a joint quest between the 2 towns, Bliss and Crucible, if I'm not mistaken. So in episode 3, which should be in May, we'll be doing the Cold Flame of Agnon, Ritual of Ascension, and one of these 2, which is Ritual of Mania or Ritual of Dementia. So you have to choose to be able to do one of those. Then we'll be moving on to the Crucible quests within that episode as well. Brithar, The Coming Storm, Final Resting, and a Liquid Solution. Then episode 4, which be the penultimate, I believe, in June, Retaking the Fringe, Rebuilding the Gatekeeper, The Helpless Army. We'll be doing 2 Crucible quests, the Museum of Oddities, and Ushnar's Terror, and 2 settlement quests, The Great Divide and Taxonomy of Obsession. Obviously, these things are fluid. If we come across it in the town and settlement ones, maybe we come across them earlier, but mostly we'll be going in order. And then for the finale in July, Symbols of the Office, The Roots of Madness, The End of Order, and the Prince of Madness. Those are the main quest ones we'll be doing there. We'll be doing a settlement quest to help a hero. And then there are 2 miscellaneous quests. One I think we could do throughout the whole season, where you're collecting stuff. But it's the Paranoid Roof Watcher, and the other one is Ghosts of the Hill of Suicides. So those are all the quests we're going to be doing coming up on the Oblivion Roundtable, starting in about a little less than 2 weeks, actually. We're going to be the Shivering Isles portion of the Oblivion Roundtable, I should say. After that, I think we're going to move on to the guilds we decided. So we'll have to figure out how we're going to do that exactly after the summer. Figure since that'll end in July, so figure sometime in September we'll be starting the guilds in Oblivion, unless there's some major announcement at Bethesda's E3 thing, and like a new Elder Scrolls is coming out or something like that. That would be amazing. It would be great. I'm not holding my breath for this year, but it would be a nice thing. Maybe some crazy thing like Oblivion reimagined. Who knows? But I'm not counting on that. So I was getting my Oblivion character ready for the upcoming Shivering Isles portion. And I wanted to go through all the guild quests just to have a complete refresher before trying to break down schedules and stuff like that. And when we do it in the fall, just have a little fresher in my mind, having played through them, because we had some funky breakdowns when we did the main quest where we left off in the middle of quest lines and stuff. But so I contracted vampirism. And I just kind of let it take hold. I was like, I don't remember what really happens, because I was just cured it. And so I let it take hold. And I was like, and I went through the whole thing. I'm like, and then it got bad, and it's much different than in Skyrim. So I kind of wanted to compare the two. That was kind of. It's much more functional in Skyrim, because you obviously you have the whole Dawnguard quest line, you have different, you become the vampire lord and all that kind of stuff. So it's just it's a whole different thing. In Oblivion, it's actually becomes pretty difficult if you don't feed properly and stuff like that. And even doing the cure quest is difficult. Now, there's other ways to cure it in Oblivion as well, with add-ons and stuff that's much faster. And obviously, if you contract, what's it called? Porphyric hemophilia in Oblivion, which is the disease, the vampirism disease. If you take the potion within the first 3 days, I think it is, you cure disease potion, you're fine. Or if you go to a shrine and a blessing, you're fine. Same basic thing in Skyrim. Same thing. If you contract the sanguinaire vampiris, I believe, you do the same thing. Take the cure disease potion, go to a shrine, you're fine. Those are essentially the same. So there's not much difference there. The name of the disease is slightly different, but you can track it very similarly. Also, in battle is most common, or like in Dawnguard, you obviously can get it through the quest line, stuff like that. Same thing with Oblivion. You can catch it in battle, or not to spoil, if you don't want to be spoiled on the quest line, skip ahead like 30 seconds. At the Dark Brotherhood quest line, you can choose to become a vampire as well. So there's other ways of going about it. There's also a Vampire Tower add-on. I forget what the exact name of it is. What the heck was it? Somebody mentioned it in the Facebook group. I apologize. I forget who it was. I'm trying to remember what the damn name is. Let me scroll down and see if I have it here. Look on add-ons here real quick. Becoming a vampire. What the heck was it called? Something Vile Tower or something like that. I don't remember. God, let's see. Becoming, preventing, feeding, advancing, curing. Vile Lair. That's it. I guess there's a font of renewal that will cure vampirism much more easily than the quest, of course, which is... The quest is awesome. So I would actually recommend doing the quest anyway. So let's get into the effects. So both. Obviously, you're affected by sunlight in both. You can feed in both. In whatchamacallit, Oblivion, you can like the best places I found to feed were like places people are going to be asleep, because like a lot of like you can go to forts and feed on the bandits and stuff, because then if they wake up you just kill them. It's not a big deal. Or you can feed on like the beggars in town. I always feel bad doing that because I am also the gray cow, or the gray fox, not the gray. I wear the gray the gray crow, the gray cow. So I am the gray fox. So I do not feel like it's appropriate for me to be taking advantage of my workers in cities. So my eyes and ears essentially. So I don't feel it's good to do that. But you can also go to the guild halls where people are going to be sleeping. If you're in any of the guilds, you can go to the inns where people will be going to sleep, break into somebody's house where they'll be going to sleep, and just sneak up, and you'll have the chance to feed on them. I believe it's very similar in Skyrim from what I remember doing. I didn't do too much vampire play in Skyrim. A little bit. I played around with, you have the whole tree and everything. You can... there's perks and all that. There obviously much less in Oblivion than there is in Skyrim. It's a much more fleshed out thing in Skyrim in general. But so you can feed, and feeding kind of eases some of the effects. Makes your weakness to sunlight. You can get it down, to 0 pretty much. But if you don't feed, it's like it piles up pretty quickly. So your vampire, if you don't feed for a day, you're okay in the first day. The second day, your ability gain, you do gain an ability. It's called Vampire Seduction, which basically I forget what it does. I remember I went all the way to Embrace the Shadows, which is nearly impossible, and it was stupid. I had to start feeding because you're getting so injured so quickly that you can't even walk around town in daylight. So the first 24 hours, 0 hit points damage in sunlight. Second 24 hours, you get 1 point per second. The third 48, 72 hours, 4 points a second. And then after 3 days, it's 8 points a second. So every second you're in the bright sunlight, it's 8 points a second. Now, some things do mitigate that. If it's raining out, it's less. If you're underwater, it's less. If it's towards dusk or dawn, it's less. So there are things that mitigate it. You can't fast travel and die. But what I did do is wait and die. You can't wait if it's daylight because you're taking damage. You're not allowed to wait while you're taking damage, obviously. But if you start waiting at, say, like 3 a.m., and then all of a sudden it's 8 a.m. when you're done waiting, you're dead. So you just drop dead. So that is a massive disadvantage, especially when you're going around trying to do a quest that is pretty intensive. So I'll basically go over to Cure Disease quests because I do like that part of it. The biggest, as far as being a vampire, the biggest differences are you have brethren in Skyrim. You have essentially what is like a guild hall with the Dawn Guard. Now in Oblivion, you're alone. There's nobody else. There's a couple quests that involve vampires that you can do them as a vampire. It doesn't really make much difference. But, you can join the Dawn Guard, be a fully fleshed out character. You have your perk tree and all that. And whereas you just get a few extra perks in Oblivion, but also lose things as well. You get weakness to fire, obviously, but you can resist normal weapons a little bit more. So it's a trade-off. And then obviously the sunlight damage is pretty extensive. So when I was trying to go around, so when you want to get cured, you can go to one of the what the heck are they called? Why can't I remember the chapels? Go to one of the chapels. I don't know why I could not think of that. And speak to whatever person in there, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, you should go see Romulus Paulus," and so you go visit him. So you visit old, what's his name, Romulus Paulus, and he'll send you on your quests. He'll send you to the Count in Skingrad, and that's kind of the big part of this story. That's not really like the Skyrim one, where you kind of go on a quest to cure your vampirism, but it's not much is involved in this with other characters. Although you can cure Serana, but so Romulus he sends you to Count Hasseldor in Skingrad, Janus, and he tells you the story of him and his wife and how they were both inflicted, and she didn't want to go on and all this stuff. So he sends you to Melisande, who's in Drakelow, which is a little settlement, not really settlement, it's like a house, basically, like a farm, whatever you want to call it. So she needs 5 empty Grand Soul Gems, so you can get those to her. And then she also needs a bunch of other ingredients. I had like all the ingredients because of I've been just collecting stuff, so I have it in my stump. So there's bloodgrass, garlic, nightshade, and the only thing that's a minorly difficult is you have to get the blood of an Argonian, and she gives you a knife to be able to do that. And basically, you just sneak up an Argonian and slash them, and you got the blood. So did do that. So it was just some random person in like Leowyn or something. I think it was Leowyn. That's further south, right? Yeah, that's on the edge of Black Marsh there. So I went down there and just walked around town. I was just like, oops, sorry about that. And I was hidden, so nothing really happened to me. And then you have to get the ashes of a powerful vampire. So it's not just any vampire. It's this very specific one whose name is Hindril. And locations up at Redwater Slough. And killing, Hindril will give you, you'll be able to loot those ashes from him. But that's a pretty good little... I had already gone through there, but he kind of... It's very tricky how he ends up there and how you find out some stuff. You have to find out where his grave is and all that kind of thing. It's a little more involved than that, but I don't want to completely spoil the whole thing. So you have to go through all that. But if, like me, you didn't feed most of the time, you're doing all this at night only and trying to get places before the sun rises. And, it was just very cumbersome to get around. And I was getting over encumbered and trying to go sell stuff. And you can only sell stuff during the day, so you have to go I'm in the market district, running from one store to the other, as fast as I can so I don't die. I can heal myself also, so it's not too bad. But there was a couple times I didn't make it. But so I was unencumbering myself. I was doing it stupidly. But the good thing about the Imperial City is you can use the sewers to get around. So I did do that quite a bit. You sneak between the different parts of the town and sewers. You can get into the town through the sewers. You can get out of town through the sewers. So there is, you do have options to get around without dying. So then you get the vampire's dust and all that stuff. You take everything to her, and she makes 2 portions of the potion, one for you, one for the Count. You can take it, then you're cured, which is fine. So then you go to Skingrad, and you give the other portion to Janus. It's very weird because he lets you stay there while he wakes his wife up to give her the potion to... Essentially, she's under some magical spell to not wake up because she doesn't want to be a vampire anymore. So he then wakes her up, So you're there during this whole emotional thing where he's basically reunited with his wife, and she's like, "I don't want to be woken up. I don't want to be a vampire." And then he gives her the stuff, and she just drops dead. And he's not. He's like, just leave. And then you can come back in 24 hours and get your reward. Don't try and loot her body; it doesn't go well. After she drops dead in front of him. So yeah, it's basically it just gives you gold the next day, which is fine. It's a really good. I explained it short, but it is a good long quest, and I actually like it a lot. I really thought it was a nice challenge. I just thought it was a really great quest line. It's not like one that you normally would come across or anything. It just is one that it's a happenstance kind of thing. So I would recommend, like, if you're playing it, definitely get infected with vampirism. Become a vampire. Don't really use it because it's, I don't know, not really that great. People look at you funny. They're not real happy with you. I think you lose the ability to use the Knights of the Nine gear, which I believe I did as well. Either that or my killing caused me to lose it, or my thieving, something. I don't know. I'm not allowed to use it anymore. But it's really, really a great quest line. And obviously in Skyrim you have the 4 different stages of vampirism where you get wrist disease, weakness to fire, as you do with the other one. You can also then get the vampiric drain, the servant, the sight, the seduction, all that stuff, which is pretty awesome, and you can go around and kill them. I didn't really like the mechanics of either the vampire lord or the werewolf in Skyrim necessarily. It just didn't work for me. I've tried it a little bit, but it wasn't just. It just I don't know. It just didn't. It was kind of like flying dragons. It seemed like a better idea than it ended up being. But I mean, I give them credit for. I think the werewolf maybe worked a little better for me than the vampire lord. I don't know, but maybe it was when I started playing them. I was so ingrained in the game already that branching out and doing those other things didn't work as well for me. So now for Skyrim, for curing yourself, you whether it's you contract it random battle or you're a member of the Volcar and with Serana, as long as you just go to ask about rumors at any bartender or whatever, they'll point you in a direction of Phelan or Phalion, whatever the hell his name is, and he's out by Morthal. He takes you out to the swamps. You have to give him with a filled black soul gem, which, I mean, in Skyrim, I mean, you can, if you're high enough level, if you've already completed Dawnguard, you've probably got 8 million black soul gems. So pretty easy to get, because you've gone through the Soul Cairn where there's a bajillion soul gems. You've done other things where there's a million soul gems. So it's actually pretty simple to cure it there. You can also then, I believe there's a way to convince, and Serana will do it also, and she will cure herself also. So there is that. But as you can see, it's a very, you're talking about 1 black soul gem. And getting grand soul gems in Oblivion is not as easy as collecting soul gems in Skyrim. So you need 5 that are much more difficult to find as opposed to the 1 in Skyrim, which is super, super easy to get. And a filled one, you're constantly filling them. Every weapon has, by the time you're at some level, every weapon has like Fiery Soul Trap or whatever on it, or multiple has a Soul Trap plus something on it, So you're really, you're collecting. I don't even know how many soul gems I have at some point. So they're pretty ubiquitous in the game. So it's not really a difficult thing to accomplish. The Oblivion one, if I could combine the two, if you could have the vampirism curing quest in Skyrim, along with the vampire lord and perk tree, etc., and the much more fleshed out story of Serana and her family, I think that would be a great combination. It would really add a ton to it. The simpleness of curing it in Skyrim kind of, I don't know, it feels like it should be more considering how fleshed out the rest of the story is. Whereas in Oblivion, there's not too much to the story. There's vampires in the game you come across. The Janus story is very good. The Count of Skingrad, that's actually a very good story if you sit there and listen to it, listen to the whole thing and go through the whole thing with him. It's actually quite a good story. So that is a very good part of it. So, I mean, if you had something like that, and it's funny, you come across him earlier, and depending on what timeline you go through things, you already know he's a vampire at some point. Oh, and speaking of Janus, all right, so you go there. You have to talk to his House Carl or whoever she may be, the Argonian who's there. And then she's like, okay, just wait. I'll go get him. And it's like 2 hours before he comes down. It just takes forever. Can he just be downstairs one time? Can he please just be downstairs one time? I would be greatly appreciative if he was downstairs one time. It's just so exhausting waiting for him in that hall. And she's like, okay, get him. And then she comes back down, and you're still waiting. And then eventually he comes back down. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So, yeah, if we could find a way to combine the two, add that great long quest line to the end of your vampire journey in Skyrim, I think it would make it all the more epic. You know, because I know there are people who enjoy playing as a vampire, you going through that perk tree, et cetera, et cetera. Sorry, I was just coughing there. I am not one of them, but I know there are people who are. And at least you have options to join that clan and do quests. People don't really like you in town on Oblivion when you become a vampire. They're like, oh, you're one of them, or, you know. You're not super popular after that, so. But, yeah, that was my little journey down Vampirism lane with Oblivion and Skyrim. I'll probably be recording again a little later in the week with some Skyrim stuff. I wanted to lock down my character to get ready for Shivering Isles, so I was going through all this stuff. It took me a couple days actually to cure the vampirism, a couple of days of playing. So, and then I was finishing up the Fighters Guild as well, which is a great storyline with the Blackwood Company and all that. So I just finished that up. So now my character is fully set for Shivering Isles, and I'm going to head back to my crafting, hunter, gatherer type in Skyrim and go back to that and get that going again. So I'm going to be hopping back over there, playing with that character, playing with the mods I have set up on Xbox One for that character, and just wandering the countryside, crafting, selling stuff. Getting really dry throat and having to shut off my mic every time I have to cough. Remind me to bring water down next time. But that's all I got for this time. So just a little primer for the Shivering Isles Roundtable coming up. And look for some good Skyrim talk coming up this weekend. Be getting back to that. And the lost episodes will continue to come out probably once a month. And also, there will be another episode of Skyrim 10 AD, which I erroneously named the first time, which is the Skyrim Dungeons and Dragons that is being done by Colin and Andrew and Ray and Pat, as I'm losing my voice again. So, all right. Thanks, everyone. You got any comments, questions? Any stories you want to share? Feel free. Whatever you're playing, ESO, Skyrim, Oblivion, any of the Elder Scrolls game, Elder Scrolls Legends. Send in your story, send in your tales. That beginning is exactly what the show was about and how it was formed for people to share. So feel free to jump in and share what you're doing. Even if you just started playing the game, even if you're not sure of the game, have what you think are simple questions, whatever. Jump on in. We're always here. Or, I'm always here. And lots of times people join me. So, take care, everyone. See you next time.